guess everybody read my bio that I was a paramedic through college and graduate school. So this story is going to be about one of the days I had as a paramedic. Well, I guess I first got interested in being a paramedic. I lived down the street from the fire department. And at the time, the fire department was the one who provided ambulance service. It predates EMS, because they really just drove the ambulance. They were, in fact, ambulance drivers. And when the fire whistle went off, we used to run to the corner and watch them race to the firehouse, and, you know, because whoever got there first got to drive the fire truck. But it was really exciting. So when I got a little bit older in high school, I became a volunteer, and I went to the emergency room, and I thought that was really exciting, but what was really exciting was the ambulance. So when I was a senior in high school, I took an EMT class, and that was 80 hours. 80 hours, that's all it took to work on an ambulance. So I started working on the ambulance, volunteering as well, and I, got hooked. I thought this was great. I mean, it was just a real charge. You were helping people, it was tremendous satisfaction, and it was a real adrenaline rush. So after about a year, I decided I was going to apply to become a paramedic. And at the time, there were 2 paramedic programs in the entire tri-state area in New York. So I went to apply to the one program. There were 300 applicants for 24 seats.
Whoa.
So I was up against some pretty stiff competition, but I managed to get in. So when I graduated, I was one of 25 women out of 300 paramedics in all of New York State.
Wow.
So after I graduated, I was offered a full-time job at Beekman Downtown, which covered the Wall Street area and also covered the Bowery, which is, New York City's Skid Row. So it was a very interesting area to cover. You could be taking care of a guy that was making 7 figures, and then the next minute taking care of a bum who lived in a, flop house. So it was a very interesting area to cover. So after 6 months, I was now the senior medic because I had a new partner who was just graduated from his paramedic program. Well, I was senior medic. So, and we also had a MVO working with us. He was the guy who drove the ambulance, a motor vehicle operator. This was because the union didn't like paramedics and we had to have a driver for us.
Oh.
Because at the time, New York City EMS was still in its infancy, and it was basically you had a motor vehicle operator and an attendant who was basically first aid trained, if you were lucky. That's what you had. So I mean, this is basically back in the dark ages. So we get a call in one of the investment banking firms, and we get there, and it has a medical office, and the doctor comes up to us, and he tells us that we have a patient, and it looks like he had an inferior wall MI, heart attack in layman terms. So we go up, and I take a history. I go and I put him on oxygen. I put him on the EKG monitor. And I explained to him, I said, okay, sir, I'm going to start an IV in case we have to give you any medicine on the way to the, and he goes unconscious.
Oh.
I look at the monitor. He's in ventricular fibrillation, which is basically real bad. He's basically dead.
Oh.
So I go to start CPR. The MVO jumps in and starts CPR. My paramedic partner's standing there like trying to figure out what to do. So at any rate, I grabbed the paddles, I charged them up, and I shocked the guy. Well, he comes back. One shock. I mean, and he starts talking to me. He was a little pissed off because it hurt. Hey, I saved this guy's life. So we decided to, start the IV, give him some medication to stabilize the rhythm. But now we had a decision to make because Beekman, where we were working out of, was close to cardiac. In New York City, you could close to certain categories of patients if you didn't have beds available. So we had the choice to take him to a different hospital which had a cardiac care unit bed open. So I decided to take him to the hospital where my boyfriend was doing a paramedic rotation. You know, the same guy that had the German mother, if you were here a couple of months ago. So at any rate, so we bring him up to Beth Israel, and we go in, and of course, you know, the medical director there was very proud of me. He was the medical director of my paramedic course, so he comes over and he thinks that I did this great job. So we give our report, we turn the patient over, we do our paperwork, we restock the ambulance. We're heading back downtown, and I decide to stop off for a egg cream at Gem Spa on St. Mark's Place at 2nd Avenue. Have you ever had an egg cream, New York City egg cream? Do you know what it is?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, some people do. It's great, right? I mean, I get out of the ambulance, I'm walking over, and there's a cop sitting in his police car, or R&P, and he goes, you know, they're calling for a bus with a rush over in the projects for a jumper down. Translated, they're calling for an ambulance quickly because there's somebody who jumped out a window.
Oh.
So we go screaming over there, and we arrive on the scene. There's a crowd there, there's lots of cops. We go on, there's a woman lying on the ground. I kneel down in a pile of dog shit. And she's hurt. She's hurt really bad. So, but she's breathing. She has a pulse. Check. Next thing we have to do is cut away the clothes, because if you can't see an injury, you're not going to be able to treat it. I'm cutting away the clothes, and it takes me a minute. And I'm like, what the? She's stabbed. So this cop is standing next to me. I hit him on the leg, and I was like, she's been stabbed. So anyway, we finish cutting off the clothes. We basically see all these stab wounds. We cover them up with, as best we can, with a big multi-trauma dressing. We put her on oxygen, we immobilize her, and we basically just load and go. The story is she was stabbed 37 times.
Oh my goodness.
Tossed out of the 7th-story window.
Wow.
And that was, it was just a crime that she just happened to be getting out of the elevator in the projects.
Wow.
And she was assaulted by this kid, 15 years old, dragged her into his apartment, stabbed her 37 times, tossed her out of this. But she survived. She had a collapsed lung.
Wow.
She had a fractured pelvis. She had a fractured jaw and a collapsed lung, but she was able to ID this guy in the emergency room, and he was arrested. So that was a day in the life of a New York City paramedic. Just one. I worked for 20 years as a New York City paramedic, so I have lots of stories.